The special recruitment of 400 magistrates and court registrars of English-speaking expression into the Advanced School of Administration and Magistracy NDAM enters the last phase today in 4 centers spread across the country. The Association of Proprietors of Financial Institutions in Cameroon gave out 200 million CFA francs to the Minister of Public Health and Protective Kits to the General Hospital of Yaoundé to stem the coronavirus. The former legal advisor of the Social Democratic Front and former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, late Honorable Joseph Banda, receives parliamentary honors today in Yaoundé and is described as a patriot by President Paul Biya. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 News.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
You're welcome back. The written phase of the special recruitment of 50 pupil magistrates and 30 court registrars of English expression for courts of appeal in Northwest and Southwest regions is underway in 4 centers. It is the 4th and last phase of the enrollment authorized by the Republic in 2017. The Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform, Joseph Lay, was today at the Advanced School of Administration and Magistracy NDAM, where some 300 candidates are sitting in for the exam. Emmanuela Vernier was there and now reports.
311 are sitting the special recruitment examination in the Yaoundé Center, hoping to be among the 50 people magistrates and 30 court registrars to man the Northwest and Southwest appeal courts when the final results are proclaimed. Launched in 2017, the special recruitment exercise authorized by the head of state is in its 4th and last year.
The first batch has already finished the training here at NDAM. They will be put at the disposal of the Ministry of Justice. Then they will be in the courts of justice of Northwest and Southwest as one of the measures of appeasement to solve the socio-political crisis.
Going from one class to the next, the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform looked out for the general conduct of the examination while putting an extra eye on the respective measures to check COVID-19.
We have received echoes coming from those centers, and I can assure you that everything is going on smoothly. We hope until tomorrow we'll have no major problem as usual.
The examination, open to all Cameroonians who are apt in the English language, will run for 2 days in 4 centers: Garwa, Bamenda, Boya and Yaoundé. At the end of this 4-year exercise, 200 people magistrates and 120 court registrars would have been trained for the Cameroon judiciary.
4 centers is lodged in Boya. 54 candidates took the competitive examination in the strict respect of anti-COVID-19 measures. The regional delegate for public service and administrative reform, Selekwe Alota Evelyn, said no cases of irregularity were recorded. The candidates laud the head of state's initiative to give equal access to all in the judiciary. Tanjong Levis Agbo tells us more.
In strict respect of the COVID-19 measures, candidates sitting the competitive examination for the special recruitment of 50 pupil magistrates of English expression into NDAM started with the written part. It is one of the measures taken by the head of state to make all Cameroonians get equal access to the judicial system. Administrators were there to invigilate and ensure it was written without any hitches.
This exam started 4 years ago as one of the measures put in place by the government. This exercise will be ending this year, and with the 50 magistrates, we have both those of judicial section, administrative section, and the audit section. And next we will have court registry.
To some of the candidates, it was a successful start.
Right now we are just done with the general knowledge paper, which we did our best, and we hope that at the end of the day we'll be successful. We want to thank the government for the initiative. The measures put in place were very good. At the entrance of the examination center, we had a wash hand basin. We washed our hands. Some of us had hand sanitizers, and then our face masks were on during writing.
The special recruitment of 50 people magistrates and 30 court registrars is one of the actions taken by government to solve some of the concerns raised by the lawyers of the common law system.
The computerization of the taxation system in developing countries and the challenges faced by operators has come under review in a thesis defended at the University of Yaoundé too. The dissertation, titled La fiscalité du commerce électronique dans l'espace OHADA, was authored by Renaud Okome-Tage. It was supervised by Professor Justin Difo, as Romeo Kenny reports.
La fiscalité du commerce électronique dans l'espace OHADA. This is the topic of the PhD thesis defended by candidate Tanguy Renaud in the University of Yaoundé 2 Soua. The piece of work, supervised by Professor Justin Difo, seeks to provide solutions to problems related to a computerized system of taxation in developing countries. It has taken 5 years for the researcher to come out with the content. In detail, the document also gives an idea on how private law can be profitable and applicable in the taxation sector.
It's the rules of ITC in every operation and action in our life.
After over 3 hours of the intellectual exercise, candidate Okomo was awarded a PhD in private law with an honorable grade.
The Cameroon Radio Television Corporation, CRTV, will function with a budget of slightly over 27 billion CFA francs in 2020. This is one of the major resolutions reached during the 52nd Ordinary Board meeting of the corporation, presided over by the Board Chair Minister René Emmanuel Sadi. The drop in the budget by 15% is impacted by the coronavirus and the general reduction of the state budget. Other major decisions as well as appointments were validated during the deliberations. Here now is an excerpt of the Board Chair, Minister René Emmanuel Sadi, on some of the recommendations taken. Take a listen.
We had to examine 2 items. First of all, we exchanged on the new statute of CRTV. As you know, very recently, the Ministry of Finance gave CRTV a 3rd category position within the state-owned companies. We thought that that classification should be somewhat reviewed, adjusted, because we think CRTV is a very important state-owned company. We know its mission, and we think that it deserves a better position. Secondly, we had to examine the interim budget, because as you know, because of COVID consequences, the President has decided that we should reduce the state budget, and this will have, of course, an incidence on all budgets, either the budgets of ministries or budgets of companies like CRTV. So we discussed on that, and we came to the conclusion that we should propose 27 billion and 400 million franc CFA. That will be the budget of CRTV for this year. To better equip CRTV, we had to examine the financial statements of CRTV and the financial statements of CMCA. I think, generally speaking, that all the documents were quite good, well presented. We examined the expenses, and also we think that we had to give our agreement to all these documents which were presented by Director General. I will seize this opportunity to congratulate the Director General and, of course, his collaborators. CRTV is quite instrumental for us by covering all campaign that we have set up to try to sensitize the population about the threat of coronavirus. We will continue to assist the Director General because we know that you have problems in this state-owned company, but you can count on us.
That was CRTV's board chair, Minister Emmanuel Sadi, speaking at the end of the 52nd ordinary of the corporation. In one of our top stories, parliamentary honours have been given to the late Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honourable Joseph Banda. The former legal advisor of the Social Democratic Front was described as a great patriot by President Paul Biya in a condolence message sent to the family. This is one of the eulogies which marked the requiem service preceding his burial today in Yaoundé. House Speaker Honourable Kaweke Jibril was represented at the funeral by the Senior Deputy Speaker, Honourable Hilarion Etong. Charles Ebounet reports.
A funeral procession accompanied by melancholic melody for a great Cameroonian, according to President Paul Biya's condolence message to the Joseph Banda family. So,
we call it the Black Saturday for the Social Democratic Front. And why not for the parliamentary institution of this country and for this nation as a whole? Because a great patriot in the person of the Right Honorable Joseph Banda is being laid to rest.
All right, for 23 years, these late astute legal luminaries served the Momo people as one of the architects of the democratization process at parliamentary proceedings.
He was a relentless worker, thinker, a legal mind on whom we could count.
At the Requiem, the spiritual, the legal, and the political families with different ideologies gathered to bid farewell to the sexagenarian who died of an illness here in Yaoundé.
Every time he tried to bring the consensus in the Pan-African Parliament. So I think we lost. It's a big loss for Pan-African Parliament.
The eulogies, at least 10, including those from Senior Deputy House Speaker Hilarion Etong and the Pan-African Parliament President Roger Nkododan, as well as the family, hailed the work of Joseph Banda, the legal advisor to the Social Democratic Front, former Deputy House Speaker and University Don.
His interventions in the Bureau, in the Chairman's Conference, in the Commission of Institutional Affairs, and in plenary sitting will always earn him respect and admiration from his colleagues.
Today, Joseph Banda is buried to be remembered, amongst others, as the only Cameroonian to serve concurrently as member of the National Assembly, the CEMAC Parliament, and the Pan-African Parliament.
And may the soul of the legal mind and parliamentarian rest in peace. Into another obituary, one of Cameroon's renowned plastic arts promoters, Marceline Fudaumba, who passed on to eternity, has been praised for the contributions in showcasing the rich cultural identity of Cameroon. She was celebrated today during a requiem service attended by fans, well-wishers and officials of the Ministry of Arts and Culture. Her mastery in the molding, sculpting and modeling of artifacts which portray the Beti ethnicity will be sorely missed. She was also a strong follower of the CPDM and a member of Tone Kalara Club. She died at the age of 70. And now on to COVID-19 news. Government's COVID-19 response strategy in the Far North region is being assessed by education officials at a time when pupils will soon be beginning their end-of-year examinations. The regional delegate for basic education, Aminu Sandazwa, observed with satisfaction the observance of hygiene rules. UNICEF's contribution to the COVID-19 fight and their donation of sanitary material was also held. Ayok Jonashu tells us more from the Far North.
With the decentralization process on the move in the nation, the basic education sector that is highly involved in the process wants the subdivisional inspectors of basic education and mayors that will play a vital part to know how to use public funds. That is why the Chargé de Mission stressed on the importance of mastering the documents that center on this new move during the launch of the budget for basic education in the far north, coupled with a workshop.
The Ministry of Basic Education has launched this activity to better accommodate our personnel on the field to manage financial resources.
The governor of the Far North region, who launched the budget and the workshop, enjoined officials to avoid swindling state funds.
We ask those who are in charge of this budget to avoid embezzlement and to do their best in order to achieve this project.
The subdivisional inspectors of basic education and mayors in the Far North will now be expected to implement what they have gathered in the workshop to better play their role in this decentralization move.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
In the Covid-19 battle, the sum of 200 million CFA francs has been donated to the Ministry of Public Health to boost the contagious coronavirus fight in Cameroon. The assistance is from the Association of Proprietors of Financial Institutions, which also gave out medical and personal protective equipment to the General Hospital of Yaoundé. Victor Siga has the details of the goodwill gesture.
The 200 million CFA francs will go into the National Solidarity Fund for the fight against COVID-19, created by the head of state. Symbolically handing the check to the Public Health Minister, Manaouda Malachi, the spokesperson of the association says it is their own quota to help in the fight against the pandemic.
Each bank already took the initiative to join the trail, but it was important to put our efforts together as an association for the common goal.
The same gesture was repeated at the Yaoundé General Hospital, where they donated face masks, hand sanitizers, among other items.
These gifts will help thousands of Cameroonians, so we are grateful for their largesse.
The association plans to extend the gesture to other parts of the country.
Some 17 villages in Sangmelima subdivision have been provided solar energy lamps to meet up with their energy needs, especially at nights. The project, worth 22 million CFA francs, is the brainchild of the CPDM member of the National Assembly for Ja and Lobo, Honorable Mathurin Germain Bindua. Ebenezer Akanga reports on the action realized barely months after his election.
The 17 villages in Sangmelima subdivision, Jan Lobo division of the South region, have come out of darkness to light with the installation of solar energy lampposts there. 50 solar energy lampposts have been installed to light the villages at night.
I used to go to bed at 7 p.m., but with the light in front of my house, children come and play here. It makes me to stay up till about 10 p.m.
The project that cost 22 million CFA francs has been funded by the Member of Parliament for Jan Lobo in Sangmelima, Honorable Mathurin Germain Bindua.
I have just started giving back to the population what I promised them during my campaign. That is development.
Also, the Member of Parliament has constructed 2 toilet blocks, one for men and one for women, in the CPDM party secretariat in Sangmelima. The keys of the toilet blocks, which cost 17 million francs, were handed to the president of the Jan Lobo 1 section of the CPDM at the ceremony in Sangmelima. In the meantime, the Member of Parliament has set it in parliamentary office in Sang-Melema, where the population can meet and discuss development with him. With just 3 months in Parliament, Honorable Mathurin Germain Bindua, who describes himself as a parliamentarian of development, already has quite some realizations to show. And he says the best is still to come.
It is exactly 7:50, and we'll talk about medical personnel who are frontliners in the fight against the coronavirus, and that there is no doubt that their lives are on the line as they struggle to save lives. Reason why it is imperative that they have a psychological follow-up. This has become one of the priorities of the Ministry of Public Health. Baldwin Sama is at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center, from where he tells us how this is done, as well as some updates on COVID-19. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther, KIMA. Many are called, but few are chosen. And the few public health professionals in the country who have been called upon to take care of COVID-19 patients in Cameroon have received appreciation from our public health experts in the Ministry of Public Health, given that most of these health professionals in the 10 different regions of the country have sacrificed a lot of time, have put in so much efforts to ensure that they take care adequately of the health of the different COVID-19 patients in the 10 different regions of the country. And that's why public health experts have continued encouraging these health professionals to continue taking care of these COVID-19 patients in the country. And tonight, with our resource person, Dr. Eric Tanzi, we are going to talk about the disinfection of public edifices in the country as far as limiting the spread of COVID-19 is concerned. Good evening, Doc.
Yeah, good evening, Baldwin.
When we talk about disinfecting a public edifice, in as much as limiting the spread of COVID-19 is concerned, what do we talk about as far as the Public Health Emergency Operations Center is concerned? Do we disinfect an entire public edifice or some particular segments?
Here I should make it clear that it should be general, in as far as the space is being used by the general public. It is but very clear that these areas should be disinfected. But mind you, maybe I should reiterate here that with the availability of the hand washing materials that we have, the alcohol-based solution that we have at all time, this could make it that we reduce the frequency for this disinfection.
And talking about the frequency, how regular should it be done? Because, for example, if we disinfect this edifice where we find ourselves today, how regular should the disinfection exercise be carried out?
Yeah, just like I've mentioned that with the availability of disinfecting kits, individual as well as general, this could go maybe once a month. It depends on the resources that are available and the situation, the context. Context here means that if it happens that there is a case within a particular milieu, then it is but obvious that they should be disinfected. So based on the availability of resources, and then this could be done maybe on a monthly basis, and we have to keep the environment as clean as we can. And disinfecting our surfaces is what is very principal with individual disinfecting kits.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Well, Esther, KIMA, public health experts of this emergency operations center keep receiving statistics and figures as far as the spread of COVID-19 in the country is concerned from the 10 different regions of Cameroon. That's why tonight we don't have the exact figures made public yet as concerns the number of persons who have recovered, the number of persons infected, or the number of persons who have died of COVID-19. Back to you, Esther.
Thanks very much, Baldwin Sama, for reminding us how vital it is for us to disinfect public places. In fact, it is an obligation and not a choice if we must oust the coronavirus from Cameroon. In other news, the newly appointed Director General of the Cameroon Shipyard and Industrial Engineering Company, Chantier Naval, has been commissioned into office. Roland Maxime Aka Ndi and his deputy, Abel Wemjo, were installed yesterday by the Minister of Transport, Jean-Enes Masenangale Bibehe. Veronica Megiala has the details from Douala.
Leadership at the Cameroon Shipyard and Industrial Engineering Company became orphaned since the 25th of April 2020 with the sudden death of the Director General, Mr. Alfred Mbeng-Fongui. The Board of Directors kept a minute of silence to honor the memory of the man who gave his all to the company. Mr. Jean-Ernest Massima Ngale Bibie then told members of the Board of Directors of the Cameroon Shipyard that the President of the Republic has decided to fill the gap by appointing Mr. Roland Maxime Akandi, who has been serving as Deputy as the Director General, and Mr. Albert Wemjo as the Deputy General Manager. While installing the new team, Mr. Jean-Ernest Massima Ngale Bibie outlined certain files that must be given priority. This includes the rapid termination of the restructuring project of the company for a real relaunch of productive activities. The new General Manager, who is very appreciative of the opportunity given to him, says he and his team are ready to take the company to higher heights.
Now, I thank first our God Almighty. I thank the head of state, and now I'm going to work together with the Deputy General Manager and all. Because here, if you want to success, you must work together.
The new General Manager has taken the resolve to make dialogue an important workplace policy.
Stakeholders in the aquaculture sector have been enjoined to avail themselves of training opportunities in order to meet the increasing demand for aquatic products in the country. The call was made by officials of the Ministry of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Industries during the distribution of fishing equipment to heads of some decentralized services. Victor Siga tells us more.
The aquacultural equipment offered by Minister Tiger are 11 motorized canoes and 72 plastic bins. This will help the personnel of the decentralized services in the monitoring of fishing activities and revitalizing the sector.
The objective is to put in place activities that promote the use of existing technologies on Earth. Plastic pond is a model. This, in the long run, will help us domesticate this system like in other countries in the world.
The canoes and plastic bins will be further distributed to other fishing points in Lompanga, Mekim, and Memvele.
I'm very proud for what he is doing for the Cameroonians. I'm very grateful for him to have given us these materials.
I want to say this is a project to enforce the emergence of 2035. And we give all the thanks, first of all, to our President, Excellency Paul Biya, and to the Minister in charge of this program, and to all the directors. These motorized canoes will go a long way to help farmers and to organize the platform, the right platform for a better fishing.
The benefactor urged the personnel to use the material for the intended purpose.
Before we end this newscast, we take you to the East region where projects under the French Debt Relief Program C2D in the area are being evaluated by the Beto City Council and positive appraisals made to the contracting companies. From the construction of shades in the Beto main market to the tarring of a 40-kilometer stretch and the floral embellishments of the town, the city mayor Jean-Marie Ndimbele Sodeya hailed the initiative, which is an element of development. Tala Elte has the details.
Flanked by his two deputies, as well as some engineers executing the French Debt Relief Program, the C2D, regional capital in Betuan, Lord Mayor Jean-Marie Ndimbele Sodeya began his inspection tour at the Betuan main market, where the construction of shops and public space stands at some 86% execution rate.
We have noticed with satisfaction that the work is advancing, and it's good because the population will love to see their market modernized.
The tarring of kilometers of roads within the city of Betua, as well as the construction of green spaces in the town, is advancing as planned.
Ici, nous sommes au niveau des ponts sur le fleuve Djadombe.
We are currently on the river Djadombe. Before, the population crossed with the help of a small wooden bridge. Today, thanks to the C2D project, they now have a good bridge which they use with ease.
The main difficulty faced so far is the fact that a group of people who constructed in the swampy area opposite the Betua Law Court, which has to host one of the green spaces are reluctant to quit the site. During a brief meeting with them, the Lord Mayor announced that the council has found a resettlement site for them. Mayor Jean-Marie Dimbele Sodea also visited construction works on the new city council building in Kume-Bonis, which engineers say will be delivered within the prescribed deadline.
And that report ends this edition of the 7:30 News, in which you heard that the special recruitment of 400 court magistrates and court registrars of English-speaking expression in the Advanced School of Administration and Magistracy NDAM has entered its last phase today in 4 centers across the national territory. More news comes up at 8:30 p.m. with Karin Olivia Beats. Stay tuned to our programs on the CRTV, and remember to stay vigilant and protected, for the coronavirus is real. Thanks for watching. Good night.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing